Welcome to a Simple Therapy podcast. Real conversations, brave stories, and simple, soulful insights for therapists and anyone on a healing journey. I'm Sindee Gozansky, licensed therapist, supervisor, and a fellow human figuring it out too. Around here, we believe healing doesn't have to be complicated, and that leading with your heart still matters. We talk about what it really means to be human in and out of the therapy room. You'll hear from therapists, mental health professionals, and people courageously sharing their personal healing journeys. Because whether you're the therapist or the client, we're all human here. Let's keep it simple and keep showing up. Hello, and welcome to another episode of a Simple Therapy podcast. If the topic of money makes you want to tune out, you're not alone. I've been there too. But my guest today isn't going to be talking about spreadsheets or financial jargon. Instead, he's going to walk us through the financial basics that every private practice owner needs to know, from paying yourself to planning ahead for the future without shame or overwhelm. Most of us wish we had this in school. But my guest today, Randall Avery, is going to bring it, and it's a real pleasure to welcome him to the podcast. Let me share his bio with you. Randall Avery is a certified financial planner and the owner of Deasil Wealth Management, where he specializes in helping self-employed professionals and private practice owners achieve financial independence through strategic planning and personalized asset management. He's held senior financial roles in budgeting, forecasting, and analysis for multi-million-dollar initiatives. And today, he's committed to helping individuals and practice owners build clarity, confidence, and long-term financial stability in their lives. He believes financial clarity isn't just about numbers, which are often very confusing for us. It's about alleviating stress, reducing burnout, and helping practice owners like therapists feel grounded both personally and professionally. He brings a compassionate, educational approach to a topic many clinicians, including myself, never had formal training in. And he helps us stop avoiding money conversations and start making empowered financial decisions. Oh my goodness. Welcome to the podcast, Randall.
Thank you for having me.
Even just going through this introduction, I kind of get butterflies because finances make many therapists nervous. We haven't had training, and yet we know it's our bread and butter. Besides just trying to provide the best clinical, compassionate care that we can. And there's a lot at stake. So I'd love to just start with acknowledging that. And as somebody who's worked with multi-million-dollar businesses, what made you turn to us?
So my background, I started off in internal audit. Then I did kind of corporate financial planning and analysis. And I love that, analyzing businesses, projections, profit. But one thing that was missing for me, it didn't really have a soul. And part of financial planning, when I work with individuals, I get to see their lives unravel. I get to see the joys they have, passing down money to their kids and grandkids, and also just seeing the stress going off their shoulders. And I love that aspect. Now, talking about specifically going to therapist, one day I was just had a friend, she was a therapist, and she actually explained what she did day in and day out. So I'm raised from the South. And in the South, we traditionally do not focus on mental health. Recently, in a couple of years, we've kind of more focused on it. But back in the day, I was completely unaware. But her explaining the impact that she has on her clients and what she actually does, I felt like this is an area I can specialize in and make a difference.
That gives me chills. And the fact that you started off by saying it has the soul part to it. So you really are about seeing that bigger picture that impacts maybe the business owner, but then also families and legacy and community, right? Like mental health has an impact on community.
Yeah, spot on. Like money is just more than numbers in a bank account. It's more than a large net worth. It's really about having a fulfilling life, investing in the things that people truly care about. And it's not my priorities or what I think. It's really about them and unearthing what they truly have, because they have not had the opportunity to explain that to other folks. And sometimes they feel ashamed explaining their true financial desires. And I give them the green light to do that.
And taking off that shame, because that's really important. I know when I've even recently talked to somebody about something related to my practice and money, let's say billing. I said, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing because XYZ happened. We feel shame when we're not either educated or aware of money drains or, things like, oh, wow, payroll is going to take up way more than a group practice owner might have thought, things like that. So going back to, we're not trained at all for the most part. Why is it important for clinicians, for therapists, for kind of like practice owners to get this education?
It's important. I tell every business owner, whether they're a therapist or any other type of practice I work with, when you're a business owner, you're actually operating two sets of books. You have your business books and you also have your personal books. And a lot of people just in general, not even just business owners, they don't even focus on their personal books. So asking a therapist to focus on both, that's really where the challenge lies. And like anything in life, if you focus on it more, take time, take it piece by piece, you can actually master and you actually begin to enjoy having that financial competency. And it's really important because you really need to regularly invest not only in yourself, but also in your business. Because if you don't do that investment, it almost become a drag on your life. And it's almost like you're pulling a boulder up a hill versus you riding on top of it. So it's just different ways you can think about money.
I like that. Already, I'm veering off from my notes. What is an example of how we could invest in our business?
The goal should be, well, for some practice owners, is to potentially build up business equity. And part of building up business equity is to put in processes and systems. It's easy to keep everything in our head. It's easy just to do everything ourselves because we're business owners. We should touch everything. And nobody can do it better than us, right? But if you want to build a level of business equity, you have to put down processes. And it starts off with just documentation, documenting what I do, why I do it. And when you do that documentation, you actually saw different opportunities for improvement. And then you think about how can I outsource this, outflow that, whether that's billing, whether that's insurance management, whether that's marketing, whether that is just email communication with clients. Figure out what areas that you specialize in that you want to hold and other areas you just want to release. And that's where it really begins to create a business equity within your business, because that's something somebody may want to buy or borrow that is unique to your business.
Got it. That's great. Really creating something that's reproducible with these systems in place that either maybe you veer off and you teach it to somebody else, and then there's an investment and equity built, or people sell practices.
And that's a big way to get a windfall. On top of that, now, let's be honest, practices are not a tech company, so they're not going to get a really high multiple. So I still encourage folks to become what I call independently wealthy from their business. That is, means saving money away, putting money aside so that it can grow traditionally like a W-2 employee, so they can live off those assets. Now, if you're able to build equity in business, that's amazing, but you still have to make sure you're investing just like if you were a regular employee into your retirement plan. I think that's underdone because we can figure out a million things we can put money towards versus our own retirement.
I just have to say, I'm so glad we're having this conversation. We had to reschedule because I was not well, and Randall gave me the grace to set this up. And already my head is spinning with so many questions. And I just feel this really great connection. Like, you get our work and kind of how we think and where we have hesitancies right off the bat. We're talking about something, a step that maybe many private practice owners aren't even thinking about, selling a practice. But we need to be thinking about investing. We need to be thinking about that personal side. And we're going to talk about that. That is one of my questions in terms of key retirement vehicles and that sort of thing. But for now, let's backtrack a little bit. What do you think it is that is the belief that many clinicians hold that keeps us back from being confident about money?
Sometimes it goes back to the institutions. I've had clients who told me their institution literally told them that profit should not be their first thing of focus. And even some teachers told them, you're not going to make any money. Just be at peace with this. My problem with that is you guys have spent a lot of years in school, fine-tuning your skill set, and also you provide a large value. If you just look at the news and society, there's a need for you guys to go out and do what you guys do, and the value that you provide should be compensated. So I think it starts off first with how you guys are trained. The second thing is what attracts individuals to your profession is just having a big heart. And because you guys have a big heart, you care, you want to make that difference, and you hear a lot of different things, and you also feel a lot of empathy with the people that you serve. You guys don't think of money first. You guys are more focused on serving. How can I be flexible? How can I reduce my fees? How can I get these people in? They need a session every single week. If they fall off, I feel some type of accountability towards that.
Right. Or you may just, give them a break or something like that.
Yeah. Somebody's, their dog died. They couldn't go to work that week. All those, we've already built this long relationship. How can I drop them off now? Those are the emotions that come into play, and it hurts people from actually reaching their financial goals or being able to reinvest in their business the way they want to. Remember, there's two sets of books you guys are managing. So it's not just one, you personally not being compensated. Your business also is not being reinvested in.
Yes. Absolutely. And as you describe this, what I'm hearing is there's some way that you're similar to us. You also are working very relationally, Randall, right? You're working with people, you're working with lives, trying to help people make better lives, become the best version of themselves, in this case, financially, but it's a sense of security as well. And I just want to put that out there. Like, we're not really that far apart.
There's a saying that nobody cares what you know unless they know that you care. And that is heavily in the financial planning world. I have to first hear them. What are your hopes, dreams, aspirations? What do you want to do? Then they'll actually care about the financial competencies that I've gained over the years. But first I have to care. And that's the only way they can open up. I could practice in a way where I just, have you fill out a sheet, crunch the numbers, and here goes your goal. But that's not fulfilling for me. If I could stay in corporate America and do that. But I wanted the individual to actually enjoy their life. And the enjoyment of the life that my clients have is my best marketing tool.
Yeah.
People look at them and say, wow, you're able to do X, Y, Z. You seem so happy and fulfilled. Your retirement does not look like my retirement. What did you do differently? And my client try to explain, and they say, you just need to talk to Randall. And that's usually how it works.
That's great. That's great. I've seen some of your YouTube videos where you do have some really cool clients who are making it, which is great. And the personal touch is absolutely there. Yeah. And that is so key about you get to know us first. You get to know hopes and dreams. The same thing we do with our clients. At least, we really try. That takes the sting and some of the fear out of talking to a financial planner. Even when I say, like, you're a certified financial planner, that already kind of makes me nervous. But you're saying, first, I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to get to know what you want for you, your life, your family, all of that. I really hope the listener takes that in, because we need to do better as a profession in terms of building our own personal security, money-wise, as well as professionally, and then also elevating that within the field of mental health. Super important. And Randall, you told me before we started recording that you've gone to, master's and doctoral programs and talked to, students about to graduate about this very thing.
I had there was a professor, and very forward thinking. She was like, Randall, they need this conversation. I hear so many horror stories of kids not knowing what to do with their money. And the question is why? If you obtain your master's, if you obtain your doctorate, there's a lot of years you're in school while all of your peers have been making money. And what that is a backlog of hopes, dreams, and things that you want to purchase. You want to purchase a car. You want to purchase a nice home. You want to start a family. You may want to get married. These things cost money. So as soon as you guys receive your first big job or income, it's a train wreck of desires and hopes. And this was a forward-thinking professor, and she brought me in, and now I do 3 postdoc programs every single year. And I speak to these students, and I was like, okay, what are you thinking? What's going on? And that helps me inform the next generation. But I can also give them the tools of my current clients, what they're doing to actually win. So it's a win-win. And I believe talking to the youth keeps me young, hopefully.
That's great. That's great. You're very young. I love it. Love the energy you bring. That's wonderful that those courses get to have you. So for the rest of us who don't, let's start with like some basics, core financial systems, because you said it starts with systems. What are some core financial systems that every practice owner should have? And let's just think about like solo private practice, because I think that's a big percentage of therapists who listen. We could do a second conversation about group practices when it gets a little bit more complicated. But let's look at like starting out or moving from agency to solo private practice. What are the systems we need to have?
I would start always first with know your numbers. And what I mean by know your numbers, actually do a budget. Similar to how you do a budget on your personal side, you need to do a budget on your business side. The first top line is going to be revenue. Okay. How much do you expect year after year after year? And I would go a level deeper and say, what does it take to make that revenue? How many clients do you have to see? Did you adjust for no-shows? Did you adjust for that seasonality we discussed earlier during the lower months? And what does that look like for the entire year? Now we go drop down into expenses. Expenses are, maybe billing help that you have, admin help, office space, utilities, all the different things that it costs to take your business. And I want you to look at that top line revenue, take into account cancellations, and then look at your expenses and figure out, where am I at as far as profit? Where is my margin? Okay. And one thing I want everybody to think about, and a lot of people forget about this, is the tax man.
Right. I was just going to say, where does that fit in? Because we've got that quarterly too.
The IRS needs to have somewhat of a cut. And if you're a small practice owner, just an individual shop, probably about 20% I will allocate there is a safe bet. You may owe a little bit more, you may owe a little bit less, depending on all the things you have going on personally. But allocate 20% of that profit, revenue minus expenses, profit times 20%. That's what you should give to the tax person. After that, that is what you can take home. Now, this is going to be the sad part. Don't take all that home. Your business is a baby. You have to reinvest that money back into the business. If you're starting out, you don't have to do a lot. Maybe 4 to 10% of that after-tax profit needs to go back into your business. Do you need to buy a new chair? Do you need to buy a new couch for you? Do you need to reinvest in marketing? Do you need to revamp branding? All those different things you want to reinvest in, but you don't have the capital to. That's what you should be reinvesting. And then after that, that's the profit that you would actually transfer from your business account to your personal account. And I know that's a lot. But if you take it piece by piece, you don't have to be perfect your first time, but if you do it year after year after year, that's when you become comfortable and potentially be a pro at it.
This is gold. And I love that you're giving us really concrete help. I mean, that's super generous. So, Randall's kind of like giving us some explicit guidelines that we can follow. The 20% is starting out for taxes and then reinvesting 4 to 5% into the business. And then later, we're going to talk about, what do? You don't keep all of the profit in your checking account, right? We want to look at other, retirement things or savings, money markets, things like that. Okay. So that seems a really good way to start. Are there any, again, we're pretty much novices here. What do you recommend we use? Like, do you love QuickBooks? Do you love some kind of app? Are there things that can make this easier for us to track ourselves?
So starting off, most people are going to use Excel or Google Sheets.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward. I know people are very scared of those processes or applications, but once you get into them, you become used to it. Remember, we've elected to be business owners, and there does become some type of obligation to get into some icky stuff we don't like that much. So starting off with Excel. Then usually people gravitate more to QuickBooks, okay? Something a little bit more automated, something that suits better to their processes. And I believe if you start with those applications, after QuickBooks, you usually hire a bookkeeper, which will still utilize QuickBooks, but you will interface with them. So that is usually the process. Starting off with Excel and Google Sheets, going up to QuickBooks, and then going with the bookkeeper as your profit goes up. And some people, you may be surprised, keep a spreadsheet for longer than you believe. It's just preference on the business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got to say, even in my own group practice, I have some therapists who are just like spreadsheet queens. They're so good at it and they do spreadsheets for everything. And so That's amazing, right? It makes it really simple for them. Yeah. I also love that this is kind of the recipe. Start with a spreadsheet, then maybe advanced QuickBooks, then get a bookkeeper. Um, and anything else we should know? I mean, I guess you just like taxes, you figure out when, the quarterly is due, put that on your calendar, pay it. Anything else that like comes to mind?
Yeah, I think the quarterly tax is important. So if you are self-employed, you are obligated to pay quarterly taxes, and it's different from the regular quarterly calendar. So just FYI, so just Google the dates that is needed and just anticipate paying that money. One thing I would say is try to automate as much as possible.
Yeah.
Automate the transfer from your business account to your tax payment account. There should be two separate taxes. Automate transfer from your reinvestment amount to your tax savings account, and automate your payment to yourself. And when we talked about it, we want to be independently wealthy for our practice. Automate your payments into your different retirement accounts. And there's a lot of great retirement accounts for business owners that you can use to reduce your tax liability.
Yes. Since you mentioned that, let's talk about them. I have on my notes there things like the SEP IRA, the 401k, the simple IRA. How are they different? What can we do as a solo private practice owner? And then it probably also depends if we're LLC or S Corp. So however detailed you want to get.
Yeah, sure. So let's take a step back. So, hopefully the government is supposed to work for us, right? And one of the tax laws they wrote in, they say, hey, this business ownership stuff is tough. We know the first couple of years are not going to be negative, but towards the end of the years, that's when you can really make a lot of profit. So they create up these retirement plans where you can funnel away up to $60,000 to $80,000 per year if you're able to make that level of profit. So think about that. It's incentivizing you to stay in business so you can funnel that amount of money away. Now let's talk about the different retirement plans. The first one I'm going to start off with is the SEP IRA, which stands for Simplified Employee Pension Plan. Forget about the name. It's just a typical investment account. The reason we start off with this because it's the easiest to apply and it's the easiest to file taxes on. Okay.
Oh.
So this is usually for a solopreneur, somebody who does not have employees. It gets a little bit more complicated once you have employees. But this you can funnel up to 60. I've had clients put up $70,000 into this account, and which reduces their taxable income. Okay, so that's the goal. Reduce your taxable income and funnel a lot of money. And it's easy on the paperwork. So most people will start off with the SEP IRA. If you are reaching to the point where you're working with accounting, then they're going to recommend something called a solo 401k, which takes a little bit more paperwork. Okay, so we're talking easy to more complex. The solo 401k allows you to deduct employee contributions. And not to get too complicated, all that means is as self-employed individuals, we have to pay self-employment taxes.
Right.
When you work for a company, your employer does that. So the way to reduce your self-employment taxes, you use your solo 401k. You pay yourself first, and then the employer, which is you, makes contributions. So that is an optimal way. Talk to your tax professional. They'll say, I got you. I'll take you from there. And then usually last, it goes from a simple IRA. That's when you begin to have employees. And that takes the form of a traditional 401k where you have a 3% match. And that's usually the life cycle of a small business owner. They start off with the SEP, get the solo 401k, and then go to a simple IRA. There are more complex things, but you will have a whole team in place before we talk about those.
Sure. That's really helpful. And with the solo 401k, do you have to be a certain type of corporation to do that?
You don't. You could be LLC. Usually I think things happen in progression, so we tend to think things sound the same. Usually you have an accountant when you have a solo 401k, and they'll recommend you transition to an S Corp. Okay. And what an S Corp is just a different business entity. That means you are operating some type of payroll and paying yourself a market wage. Okay.
Yes.
And usually that's when an accountant comes in, gives you that estimate and walks you through that aspect. But you can have a solo 401k as an LLC, but usually we'll see in the market what actually happens. You'll be an S Corp.
Did you know 1 in 5 people will experience a mental health issue this year? That's why I created Mental Health Threads, to spread awareness and break the stigma around mental health. At mentalhealththreads.etsy.com, you'll find a collection of inspiring and fun products from t-shirts and hoodies to mugs, hats, candles, and more. all featuring positive messages that encourage self-care and mental well-being. Bestsellers like Go to Therapy, Love Wins, and Still Here are fan favorites, along with our signature semicolon designs and Pride collection. Therapists especially love our exclusive items like Licensed Listener and Professional Secret Keeper. Our mission is to spark important conversations and remind you that you are not alone. If you're ready to make a statement and support mental health, head on over to mentalhealththreads.etsy.com today. Let's make mental health a priority together. All of these things you're talking about right now, is this something that you help private practice owners with?
Yes. So your accountant will tell you how you can save money for it, but it's usually a financial planner who will go in and open up these accounts for you.
Okay.
You can definitely do this yourself. But like I said, there is a paperwork, and some people feel queasy about opening. Am I doing it right? My always recommendation is you guys should be focusing on running your business, growing your business, reinvesting that. That should be your lifeblood. Let somebody else take care of the financial things for you. But if you, just like some of your employees are very spreadsheet inclined, if you love this type of stuff, there's enough resources out there for you to do it yourself.
Yeah. Very, very great information. I also love that you're talking our language. You know, when you talked about figuring out our revenue and accounting for all of those blips, the no-shows, the cancellations, the slowdowns in income based on seasons or sickness or holidays. With that latter point, do you have any, just from your experience working with practice owners, not just therapists, it could be other ones too, dentists, I'm sure everybody has similar slowdowns, in terms of like how to manage those irregularities, whether it's other income streams or how do we plan for it even?
To be honest, the first year is tough. I have therapists, they're booked solid the full year. I have therapists where it's ghosts during Christmas season, and in the summertime, nobody shows up or they completely cancel. So the first year, you just have to figure out your business, how it works. But hopefully after that, you're doing that exercise I said, which would be create a budget every year. And once you create that budget for the full year, then you can go back to, this is what I'm paying myself, and this is what I need to live on. And if I can still automatically keep that same amount during the years of feast, your cash account will go up. Then use the famine, it'll go down, but you're still paying yourself a consistent rate. So you don't see that fluctuation. That way, you know, when somebody cancels, you're not calling, are you sure you canceled? Are you sure I can move you in this so-and-so? I can do this. Right. And you're not double booking everything. That is what I recommend. You have to the first year, you don't know, or you can actually, find a mentor or somebody in your business who can tell you more about your seasonality of your specific niche and population. Right. Use that and leverage that. But just know there will be seasonality. Keep a cushion. Personal account, business account. You have an emergency fund here. You also need to have an emergency fund in your business. You're running two sets of books.
Absolutely. Do you have a ballpark recommendation on these cushions for business and personal? And of course, this is ideal. We can't always do that. But let's say, in the best of circumstances.
At a minimum, I like 3 months. So if you're just a solo practice owner, 3 months of operating expenses. So for whatever reason, your income goes to zero. Let's say your bank account gets shut down. Let's say you get delisted off of an insurance panel. You can figure things out in 3 months to get to that point. When you have employees, this gets complicated. I recommend about a year of operating expenses. You're not going to get there overnight. Work your way up to that year. That way, whatever happens, I can still pay my employees, because the stress of payroll is burdensome, because you're sometimes having somebody's lives, or at least economic lives, in your hands, and you want them to be compensated
all the time.
So if you have that cushion in place, I think it allows you to be more at peace, because you want to take home as much money, you want to spend the money, enjoy the fruits of your business, but your business should be a place of create some level of peace. It's not going to be always peace as a business owner, but you have to set it up to create peace.
Yeah. And you want your employees to feel secure and to feel like you've got them and the business is stable. And, I just have to share, I love some of the wins of just seeing Some of my employees have babies or get married, like that tells me, this is what I want even more of. How can I bring even more of like a sense of security to them? And believe it or not, it comes down to what you're talking about. It comes down to reinvesting the business, knowing your numbers, knowing, your margins, and what the market can serve too, and taking risks. It really requires therapists. We are good at taking risks when we're working with clients because that's such a part of our work, but sometimes not as much in these other aspects of our lives.
And I want to add to that. If you're deciding to take on employees, take on other practitioners, one way for them to feel really insecure, if you have to send them an email and say, hey, payroll's going to be late.
Oh,
I'm going to have to pay you a week or a couple days later. I'm a little short. They are going to go on Indeed or whatever job board and start looking for other jobs. Or think about going on their own private practice.
right.
So understand the culture you want to be. If you say you care about clients, you definitely need to care about employees as well.
Is there something else that would be helpful for us to know in terms of our personal accounts, like our personal books? We're putting a certain portion into retirement accounts. What else should we be thinking about?
Yes, I completely understand. You guys spend a lot of years in school, and a big portion of your identity is being a therapist. And a big portion of your identity is being a business owner. But that doesn't mean you should not have other hobbies and interests and other things that get you going. Okay. So once you have in your personal life an emergency fund, think of other hobbies that you can invest in, and they may provide some type of economical benefit for that. So I want you to really invest in your life to see yourself in finance, as a portfolio. I'm a business owner. I'm a therapist. I'm a parent. I might also be a cyclist, a dancer, a singer, and something. Really invest in a fulfilled life. Now, of course, I want you to make sure you're maxing out your retirement accounts, all those different things. But life, you should be very colorful as far as a professional. And I think that will actually reinvest back into your business, how you approach your business. And I believe you also show up better for your employees.
Yeah. Great advice. And that's bringing the relational human side back, Randall, which I so appreciate. And we haven't even mentioned your website yet, which is deasilwm.com, DEASILWM.com. Am I saying it correctly?
You are?
Okay. But you have such a great spread on your about section because you have all of your background for work and your career, and then you have things about your life, and that just makes it so well-rounded, and we get to know you. And so your encouragement for us to also look at, what do you want to do? Do you want to travel? Do you want the fancy gym membership? Do you want the Peloton in your basement? Like, what is it? And go for that.
And I'm not sure, you tell me if it's similar to your profession. My clients actually help grow me. I started off hardcore audit, financial planning, and I was like, it has to be about the numbers. But over the years, they've shown me life has, like I said, a lot of colors, more you can reinvest, and reinvestment doesn't have to have an economic return. So you learn from the people, hopefully you're learning from the people you work with, their experiences and what they value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is really the gift and the blessing of our work. We learn from our clients all the time. I don't think you could kind of sit in the chair if you weren't open to that. And so, yeah, it's really beautiful. And that's an important thing for us to keep in mind too, that, you're working with somebody else who's in a service business. Don't think about it as like finances. Think about it as service. And you're not that different. It's great. Yeah. Let's see. We've talked a little bit about fears of money, and I guess as you're describing this really planful approach, that's how we are less reactive, right? With like the slew of cancellations or the holidays, or there's a delay. This has happened a lot. There's some kind of software crash, we don't get insurance payments, or the insurance companies are just a mess and they don't pay you, right? Like, how do we, instead of react, be a little bit more intentional with that?
I'm going to answer your question in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of always being on offense. What I see a lot of time for business owners, once they reach a certain level of income, they kind of sit back. And when you sit back, things start happening to you. The water goes out, the light goes out, the building needs to be renovated, something so and so happens. I'm a big believer, as long as you're on offense with your business, which usually means how can I super serve who I'm serving? It will alleviate a lot of those headaches, because once those negative things happen to you, then you're reactionary. But if you're always pushing and have trained that muscle to look for opportunities, super serve who you're working with, I think that solves a lot of those things, because those negative things happen usually when you're usually resting on your laurels a little bit.
I really appreciate that description, being on offense, looking for those opportunities, and it creates a positive approach, which is what we want. We want to try to manage and challenge our negative thoughts, and those things are going to happen. So if they're going to happen, what can you do about it, right? Like, go into it with your playbook.
Yeah, and because you're already looking for the opportunity, you're hungry. It's hard to flip a switch and say, now I got to go back prospecting like when I started. But if you don't have to do the exact same way when you started. But if you're always looking, you're always socializing, don't flip a switch. Keep your switch on in a healthy way, in a balanced way,
Yeah.
right? But keep that switch on and that fire going. And I think that makes a huge difference when negative things come your way.
Mm-hmm. I also think that's a key quality to avoid burnout. Sometimes, we're like, oh, I have enough clients, I'm just going to do this. And, not that you're sitting back, but kind of metaphorically, maybe it becomes stale, or maybe you get a little burnt out. But having kind of that constant look and networking, and what if a new client reaches out and you're like, oh, wait, I'm having all these clients reach out. Maybe I'm ready for like the next level, or maybe I want to create an online program or something. Like, I really feel like it can be inspiring, and that's what we need to stay alive in this kind of hard industry.
Yeah, and I think that's where I feel like the education you guys receive missed is it stops at therapy, and there's no more of, like you had mentioned, well, maybe there could be a course, maybe it could be a group opportunity, maybe I could lecture more, all those different other revenue making opportunities, and it just trains you to solve a problem. And solving problems, how you earn money, just to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Really good point. And again, you want to find somebody, if you're interested in this, who's going to walk you through that, who's going to kind of challenge and pique your interest and get you to think a little bit about what would you like to do also. That's very important.
And it's surprising. Very small advice make a big difference for my clients. Every year I request my clients, they're not all practice owners. Update your resume. And one year they updated their resume and they called me back the next month and said, Randall, thank you so much for telling me to update my resume. I would have never applied for X. And the old saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. That's what good people in your life do for you. They say, hey, look out for this, check that box there. And you're annoyed to do it, but once it's done, you're so glad you did.
Yes. You got some good sayings in your toolkit. If you're ready, you don't have to get ready. I like that one. Yeah. So here you are, giving me great segue. How do we know when we're ready to start working with a financial planner? What are some signs that it's time to do that? Or maybe it's always time, but, helping us kind of take that step. How do we know?
So in my mental map, in my world, how I practice, there are 3 reasons somebody reaches out to a financial planner. The first one is probably obvious. It's, you have a pool of assets that need to be managed. That's straightforward. Mm-hmm. Usually that starts off around $300,000. That's when it's kind of a no-brainer for somebody to reach out to a financial planner. The next segment is going to be somebody who maybe inherited money or recently divorced. Those are 2 areas where a financial planner could really step in and add some advice. And the next area is just high income and you want to be a great steward of your money. That usually starts around $80,000. from my experience, it does take around either high income portfolio, inherited money, a combination of those for you to really seek out a financial planner. But if you're at a situation where it's like, I can spin my wheels for a year trying to figure this out, or I can bring somebody in for a month or two, that's another opportunity, especially somebody who specializes in your space to help you move forward. And I'm a big person on graduating my clients, really saying, I think you're good to go. Give me a call when you're ready. And of course, they're in my ecosystem and network and they see my video. So hopefully they're growing just from that, which is why I do those things.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, great value that you're adding out there. And is there, besides somebody who understands your business or your industry, is there anything else, qualities, experience that you recommend we should look for in a financial planner?
I think the first thing, they should be a fee-only financial planner and they have to operate as a fiduciary, meaning they always have to operate in your best interest. I've been in the industry. I know a lot of different people and there's a lot of good people who receive commissions and sales. But if you don't know anybody and looking, definitely look somebody who's fee-only and who's a fiduciary. Okay, that means their fees are transparent. You ask them, how much does this cost? They can show you your fees directly. You don't have to read a 5-book pamphlet to figure out what it is. So that's the first thing. I definitely, because I'm a certified financial planner, definitely seek somebody who is certified. I'm a big believer in that. And I think the second thing, it should be a gut thing. This is a relationship similar to a romantic relationship. Hopefully you're going to be working with this person for years, maybe on and off for a couple of years, but somebody who you enjoy talking to, can have fun. Like money is supposed to be fun. I know that's surprising.
It's so surprising.
You're supposed to enjoy allocating money, giving, reinvesting. That should be a joy to do. So make sure it's somebody you can have fun with. And I think that's important.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you missed Randall's big smile as he said that money's supposed to be fun, and really just your great energy around this, which dissipates so much of that fear for us. Thinking about wrapping up a little bit, and if somebody's still feeling overwhelmed, so they don't really know where to start, like they're not at the high income rate looking to meet with a financial planner now, but what are a couple actionable steps they can take, like starting this week, to improve their financial foundation?
Remember, you guys have decided to operate a business. Okay. And there comes some activities that may not be the sexiest thing. I'm a big fan of reading. Okay. One of the things I recommend is called the E-Myth Revisited. That's a book. And the summary of the book is it breaks down, because you decided to be a business owner versus just a practitioner, there are different obligations and things you need to be thinking about. Things like reinvesting your business, things like always looking to improve. Those little elements that I dropped there, they go into more details in books like that. But in general, you're always a reader. You're always staying on edge. Always pretend like you're in college trying to find that next job. That's the position I would do. So that's the first thing. The second thing is rewind this video, go back to the budgeting stuff. Really list out your expenses, understand your no-shows. And I think the last thing is always keep a group of mentors and peers, and continually to nurture those relationships, because they're going to go through some things that you're going to go through. They've been through some things and they can keep their ear to the ground like you can, and you guys can collectively win together. I think in society, they push us to be in competition, but you'll find out that collaboration will win the day every single time.
Yes. And that's something we need so much right now in our society and our culture, more collaboration. Yeah. And maybe we can also really explicitly restate the budgeting part that you said, because it was so great. We'll put that for sure in the show notes. And I guess if somebody is wanting to have this collaboration, or maybe they're wanting to talk to, I don't know, their partner or their spouse or a friend about like, I'm really wanting to like take a different approach to my finances. Like even saying that can be scary, or they'll think, oh, they're going to judge me, or they're going to think like, who are you to do that? Like what kind of, I don't know, conversational starter or tip would you have for that person to just Go for it.
When we talk about working together with people, money it could be a partnership for business. It could be romantic partnership.
Mm-hmm.
We have to acknowledge that everybody's coming in with their own money situation, their own ideas about money. Sometimes a lot of money trauma just growing up. So people are coming in both extremely insecure about money.
Yeah.
And the way relationships work, they say opposites attract, which is not always true. But I do think opposite money mindsets do attract. You're going to have a saver or a spender. And at a minimum, you guys are going to prioritize different luxuries and vices.
Right. I'm smiling because that's true for me. We're opposite.
And you can't go directly at the person to say, hey, stop spending on this. You're killing our budget. Stop doing this. What I recommend is sitting down, and this goes for business partnership as well. What are our goals?
Mm-hmm.
What are your aspirations? What are your hopes and dreams? Write those down. Let them marinate. Then also talk about, how did you see money growing up? How do you see money today? What do you fear about money? No judgment. Well, I saw you feared about money that way. That's why you spent so. Be peaceful. You guys are therapists, see all the professions.
Right. We talk to our clients. What was the first message you got about money, in your childhood? Oh, you can't have that ice cream at this shop. We have it at home, like things like that. We talk about this, but we don't do it in our lives too often.
When it comes to personal things, there's nothing that gets you like a romantic relationship off your square. Let's just say that. Right. But have those conversations, talk to them. And I think the number one thing I tell folks is go on the financial journey with your partner. And this goes for kids as well. They will mess up. They will, unfortunately, not meet the expectations that you have. Be patient and go along that journey with them. And I think you'll notice that the reason opposites attract when it comes to how they manage money is my wife helps me open up and spend and enjoy life. I help her maybe think 2 steps forward. You guys are supposed to balance each other out. I think you take overall, this is taking a teamwork approach versus just a one way is right, one way is wrong.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. That's gold. For those of you who are listening, Randall Avery has just offered us so much wisdom, so much free advice that we can actually put into action in our professional and our personal lives. I'm so grateful to you for taking the time, sharing this with us, all of the resources you offer. If somebody is thinking about going on a journey with you with their financial world, share with us how they can contact you, where they can find out everything about you, and we'll be sure to list in the show notes too. But take a minute, please, and just share with us your footprint out there.
My name again is Randall Avery. I'm a certified financial planner and a holder of the Chartered Financial Analyst designation. The best way to reach out and learn more about me is via my website. It was mentioned earlier. It's going to be www.deasilwm.com. That's www.deasilw.com. You can reach there. I'm also on social media. So if you want to know more about my thoughts, how I approach different things, I'm really not hard to find. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all those different things. Now, if you're at the point where I like what he's saying, but I'm not ready, whether that's an investment aspect. I am the author of the book, Hacking the System by Creating Your Own System. That's right behind me right there. Oh. It's on Amazon right now. I think it's a primer, especially for a business owner, to shift their mindset about how they think about money and opportunities that are out there. So if you're not ready for a financial planner, that could be a great resource. But I'm not hard to find. Just Google me at Randall Avery.
Amazing. And so sorry, I didn't even know you were an author and you have a book, and I thought I did all this research, but we'll be sure to list the book as well. And that's wonderful. People can get it. And really, you're so friendly. You're open to people reaching out, emailing you, and getting in touch. And if you can't serve them, you might be able to send them in the right direction.
Right. I don't think you can give enough. And I definitely think that comes back. And hopefully I put that out into the world for others to do the same.
Yeah. So grateful, Randall. Thank you so much for sharing with us today all of your wisdom. I hope everybody checks out your website and your offerings, deasilwm.com, and your book. We'll link it all. Thank you to my listeners for listening to an episode about money. I hope you learned something and some of your fears were allayed and you'll take to heart Randall's advice. Remember, until next time, keep it simple and keep showing up. Thanks for listening to A Simple Therapy podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs it. Your support means so much. You can learn more or get in touch at asimpletherapypodcast.com. And remember, let's keep it simple and keep showing up.